What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Culture ConVOS. We are, as of this recording right now, it is November 19th. So we are actually 1 week out from Thanksgiving. Carice, what's going on over in your neck of the woods when it comes to Thanksgiving? You guys, are you cooking? Do you cook for Thanksgiving?
Yes, of course I cook. I'm a mom of four. If I don't cook, everybody starves.
Okay, does Harvey help out in the kitchen?
He helps by keeping the kids occupied,
That's
and that's the kind of
important
help
work.
I like.
That's important work. Yes. I'm usually during Thanksgiving time, I'm like bouncing around. Like I'll have something that's cooked at my house, right? Like where I live, but it'll kind of be like just all my favorite things only. And then I bounce around, like go to my mom's and other family and friends. Like I usually bounce around for Thanksgiving. But you know what I'm always thankful for? Even though I hate driving, I'm always thankful that I'm invited multiple places.
Oh,
Like that. Sometimes I think about that where I'm like, yo, there's people who literally don't even have one place to go, right? So
true.
let alone having multiple places to go and feel welcomed and feel like, I can come and eat good. I usually don't eat all at every place though. Like like my first stop usually takes me out, but I still get those places to go because you're gonna eat on that for a while. But um, I think that is this is like so relevant to what we're gonna be talking about today, which is that Dental Culture Con is having a cookout and everyone's invited. Well, I won't say everyone.
Oh, wow. Not everyone. Wow.
Hey, listen, we don't want troublemakers, right? We don't want people who's gonna make the culture bad, who's gonna make the cookout experience bad, right? You got that cousin who always drink a little too much or something like that, and then they cause some kind of issue, right? So those people are not invited. But if you are here for the same reasons, right? You wanna have a good time, want to eat good, want to share some good stories, connect, like you're invited. Nobody's excluded.
I love that. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it is very relevant, very timely. It comes together really well. This episode, it's not a real cookout, it's a cookout with the quotations around it. But I'm excited to talk about what I've recently discovered. Well, I don't know that I've recently discovered it because we've had these conversations before, but I'm just coming off of the Dental Entrepreneur Woman's or Do
Mm,
retreat,
mm.
and it was a phenomenal event, but it did give me a good perspective as to how Dental Culture Con is perceived. And, I think that as we get into our talks today about unconscious bias, the cookout and who's invited, and cancel culture, that will peel back all the layers of some of the findings.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it because like immediately when you told me about this experience in the event, like what happened? Like what was it that you uncovered?
Yes. So Do is a wonderful supportive community with a safe space for everyone, every woman, I should say. We love our dudes, but it's really for women. So it's a wonderful safe space. And in that safe space, people felt free to tell me their real views about our event. So Dental Culture Con and its marketing, as we're making our push through the industry and we're making our own impact, there are some people who feel like this event doesn't look like it's for them. It looks like it is for a particular group of people. And if you don't fit that mold, then it's not for you. You're not invited. Somebody actually said, when I saw it, I thought this looks really cool, but it also looks like I'm not invited, like I shouldn't be a part of it. And I said, oh, wow. Well, that's not how I want you to feel. I don't think that's how Chris would want you to feel. Like everybody is invited, minus, the uncle that drinks too much, and then
Right. And this is something that we faced already before. I don't think you fully went there, but what they clearly must have seen was two black owners, and thinking that this event was just for black people. And we dealt with that our first year announcing Dental Culture Con. We had direct messages, we had conversations with interested speakers and other supporters who thought that this event was something other than what we were actually trying to push, which is an event that is truly about diversity. We're not trying to create a pocket for black people to come together. Now, we do support the black community as we are active members. I have to check Carissa's card. But no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But we are absolutely supporters of our community, but we're building Dental Culture Con to be an inclusive space for everyone, whether you're black, white, Asian, you're Irish, you're Muslim, right? Whatever your religious preferences, whatever your sexual orientation, like we are trying to create a space where everyone is truly represented. And it's not an easy feat, honestly. Being that we're black, this is one of our major struggles, is trying to remove the unconscious bias that exists, right? Because of us being black owners, whatever that means to people, whatever it looks like visually, when we do put out marketing materials or we speak about diversity or how to enhance the culture, we're not just saying add more black people to the mix and things will be better. We're saying we need a mix of a lot of different people.
yes.
Every kind of person, if you will,
Yes.
is what we need.
Absolutely. So the unconscious bias, I think, is really important for us to address right now, in that most of our marketing and everything that we've ever put out about Dental Culture Con, it in no way, shape, or form overtly says that it is exclusive for anybody, any minority, any sexual preference, any religion, any gender. It's not specific for any person. I think the name is very broad as compared to other organizations that might have more limiting factors to their names. Like you go to a DSO conference, it's for people who work in dental service organizations, right? Women in DSO, it's for women. So you might feel like if you're a man, you're excluded. Like there are other things that are a bit more limiting in their names. Whereas Dental Culture Con, I feel like right there, we got a name that's not excluding anybody. Okay. So we're good. As long as you're in dentistry, you're invited. But then in all our marketing, when we talk about the word diversity, when we talk about inclusion, I think that might be where the unconscious bias comes in, because there's something about those words or those terms that might trigger something internally where someone feels like, oh, it's diversity. That means it's not for me because I'm not a part of a minority, or I don't identify as a person of color or whatever. But that's just not the truth of it. Diversity is actually really inclusive of all.
The word in itself, maybe the word has been thrown around so much and there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for people to actually look up the meaning, right? Like what is inclusion? What does that mean? I mean, or what does diversity mean? We talked about this last year. I remember in our marketing, because we were trying to define diversity. It was like, what does it mean to you? I think we were asking different people, like, what does diversity mean to you? Right. But maybe we just take a second to look up the actual definition. So here it is. Diversity is the range of differences between people, including their race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, and more. It's about acknowledging and valuing what makes people different. And so, I mean, we had, and I think our quote is still up there by Audre Lorde, right? And it specifically talks about celebrating our differences. So again, to your point, Carice, we've said it multiple times. And we just have to boil it down to is this unconscious bias.
Mhm.
But the reason why we're titling, I'm gonna give you the title of this episode and also make a very clear statement, right? Here we go. You're invited to the cookout. Period. If you're listening to this, you're invited. Now, we don't want raisins in, we don't want raisins in the potato salad. Okay. So if you're a raisin or if you're trying to bring raisins in a potato salad, you're not invited. Okay. but, but you know, we're just really trying to figure out ways to remove this from people's mind that they're not invited. You know, we're literally opening the doors to all people, and I feel like we're kind of beating a dead horse right now, but that's how important this is. We're really trying to drive this home because imagine, you know, throwing a kids party, right, for kids, and you know, there's kids walking past, and you literally have all of these great things for them, and they think this is not for them, but it is. Like, I don't know if that really was a good analogy, but it that's how this feels. Like we're trying to throw a party for everyone to feel included, but people are excluding themselves, and we don't want that.
Yes, yes. It is an open event. I think diversity sometimes might trigger for some people a feeling that they're taking themselves back to a fight, you know, in the 60s or back when diversity was a big issue, when we were talking about Jim Crow laws and we were talking about inclusion in a different way than we talk about it today. If we modernize what it is, everybody should have a voice. You don't have to be just an ally. You have your own set of experiences and traumas and things that you have been through that have formed and shaped who you are, and how you come together with someone and their own traumas and experiences. It creates a beautiful blend because we wind up getting to the root of our commonalities, right? So
Mm.
beyond the fact that we're all in dentistry, I'm sure there's other things. There might be some people who come to Dental Culture Con who do like raisins in their potato salad. There might be some people there might be some people who come to Dental Culture Con who discover that, you know, they like to wear two different kinds of socks. They never like to match their socks. You might find the most random thing that you connect on as just human beings, and then
Yeah,
we can take it from there and we can get deeper. And I
yeah.
think that that's the true beauty of the event and why it is inclusive.
It sounds like you speak to some really smart people, you know.
Or
Um,
I am really smart people.
I think that hits the nail on the head so hard. Like we we're just trying to figure out a modern way to bring up old issues, right, and find modern solutions as well to how we talk about these things, how we show up in this space. Um, and in my opinion, I think we're doing a pretty damn good job, but there's still more work to do. And we're really getting to a point where we're not really focusing on changing the masses overnight, but one person, one connection, one story, one experience at a time, one dental practice, one practice owner who's drowning because their team is not diverse and their patient retention is suffering, or you know, there's a myriad of different things that come from not having cultural competency and diversity included in your practice
Mhm.
bylaws, if you will, right? But when you go to change those things, it could be difficult because you're trying to, again, turn an old problem good with not many solutions out there. I don't think there's too many people diving deep into how to turn your culture around outside of team building events, right? or potlucks, although, we're inviting you to the cookout, you have one meal is not enough.
Right.
Right. Like it's an ongoing thing. I think, Carice, you talked when we were still offline about, what did you say? I wrote it down. It's like, you have to, the same way you have to nourish your body in the right way, you have to nourish your mind or your culture in the right way. And it's a continuous process.
It is. It is. I think the work will never be done. And I think that is the beauty of starting these conversations now or continuing them, I should say, because we started them in 2023, but we're continuing them 2025 and beyond to really get to establishing a better world for all of us to coexist in, because we have to not only work together in teams as practices, but outside of that, we work for communities and we work for our patients. That's why a lot of us got into this, right? We want to create an environment that welcomes them in, allows them to understand us and us to understand them better. That way we can create that bridge. So Chris, again, I know we're referencing all these things that were said off before we hit record, but it was stated by you that like we talk about flossing a lot. We talk about the same thing over and over. Like preventative dentistry is not new or innovative. It
Mm-hmm.
is the same thing. It's the basics, right? So if we're talking about flossing, and it's just not resonating, maybe it's time to mix up the messaging, mix up how you're presenting it. And that might be what gets the light bulb to go off. And that makes the shift, makes the change. And so that's what we're aiming to do, is to have these conversations in new ways, build up a community of people who are really trying to create a movement where we go forward together, making positive shifts in the industry.
Absolutely. And just elaborating on that a little bit more, so there's not just so, like a quick statement thrown out there and you kind of miss this. It's like dentistry. When I came into dentistry, I noticed really quickly out of the gate that almost every person said the same things. Like, from sitting in a CE course and learning about specific dentrifices, or the just the way all of these things work, right, all the way down to flossing, which is the example, yeah, all the way down to flossing and how you tell patients the importance of that, right? And it was me seeing all this and saying, I don't want to sound like that same broken record. Like, it literally, I could see the dust on the statements. Like, everybody been recycling the same old ass verbiage, and it's just not resonating. Why in 2025, when we have so many variations of toothbrushes, so many variations of different floss types, are people still having light bulbs go off where they're like, huh, I knew I needed to floss, but I didn't know I needed to floss, right? Like, why is that? It's because people been recycling the same message that ain't work. It's not working. And then, of course, you got the people who just never heard certain things, right? We can't ignore that. Like, education is a huge part of that, right? A huge access to care is a huge part of that. But at the end of the day, when I have a patient and I say, just different, everyone has a different way they say it. Sometimes I reference, when you eat food out, right? All of us do that, and we like to save food. Where do we put it? We put it in the fridge, where it's cold. It's in a case, right? It's like preserved. Like, it's a preserving process. Now, would you eat that same food if it was in a dark, wet, hot place? Like, if it just was there, like, would you go back to it? Right? When I put it like that, I'm like, that's essentially the aspect of your mouth. It's hot, dark, wet, and you got food in between your teeth, and you don't get that out, and it's just sitting there for weeks upon weeks. And say you do brush every day. You brush in the morning, great, right? That's fine. But then you go an entire day of eating. You don't brush at night or floss. You go to sleep. You sleep for at least 8 hours. You wake up and you do the same half-ass clean in the morning. And that just, you keep that process going continuously. When I break it down like that, it just hits different. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
never thought about it that way. So I know we're kind of, again, we're really harping on this message here, but that's how important this is. Like, we are not just talking about how your team should be diverse, right? We're not just trying to reach the corporate. We're trying to talk to every single person in dentistry and tell you that we see you, and some of you that are in the shadows, we're creating a light. We're creating a stage for you to step out so that you can be seen. And I guarantee you, as soon as you step out with whatever unique fingerprint of an identity you have, you'll find somebody just like you, right? But we have to talk about these things. We have to show up and know. Once again, this is not a Black conference. This is a conference for everybody. This is diversity in action.
Yes. And so when we talk about the cookout, I think is a very Black reference where we have these cookouts like barbecues.
They know what the cookout is.
And people, well, I don't know, you don't never know. Some people don't know. And everybody brings something to the cookout. And so all we ask is that if you're coming to Dental Culture Con, you come as authentically you, but that you bring and add something to our cookout. It's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the quotes around it.
Put
It's not a
some
real
on the table.
cookout. Don't actually bring food. What you're bringing
Hey,
is
don't listen to her. If you want to bring some food, bring some food. We're gonna have food there, but if you want to bring something, you can bring something.
all
Like,
right.
I love me a good empanada. Somebody can bring some
Oh
good
my goodness!
empanadas.
Don't get all into that. You actually have people bringing you empanadas. Okay.
Hey.
Okay, but what they really need to bring, right, are their unique experiences, their values, their perspectives, their knowledge, their truths. They need to bring that type of stuff to the table. Bring it to the table, bring it, put it down, and we promise to have a safe space. Our cookout or conference is going to be a safe space where everybody will be able to receive what you brought. So you bring it, people will be able to receive it, you will be represented, you will be heard, and you'll be able to grow as a result of not only what you impart to others, but what they're bringing to the cookout to impart to you.
Okay, and that's enough from Oprah Winfrey. We got.
I'll take it.
No, I love that, and it's crazy just thinking about the concept of this cookout. Like, we can go so deep and far with this, because as you were speaking, I'm just thinking about people literally put in their mac and cheese, if you will, whatever value, right, they're putting on this table for everyone to enjoy, for everybody to consume and be like, I never had it that way, right? And there's so much relevance between food and value, because that's what food is for us, right? It's value, it's sustenance. It adds to us. Me being a wannabe foodie, influencer with my girlfriend, we're always eating at restaurants all the time, and visiting these different places that you never may have heard of, right? But it's Mediterranean food, it's Asian food, there's Asian American fusion, there's Western and African cuisines, and like all these different ways that people prepare these meals. It's really mind blowing. And I feel the same way whenever I meet people from different walks of life who have different stories and very different experiences that I have never even imagined myself being in, right? Like our keynote speaker, if you
Dr.
guys watch
Alan
our
Stern.
episode with Dr. Alan Stern, yes. Lauren King with her experience around sex trafficking. And I mean, there's so much stuff, like there's so much to get from this event, and we'd hate for anybody to miss out on what's going to be on the table just because they think they're not invited. Like, there's a seat for you. Oh, we got to bring that old image back. We had that. Remember the image we took at what was it? The Black House. What was the place that we went to?
Legacy Center.
Legacy Center. The Legacy Center, and we did that picture around the table, and we were
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
"You have a seat at this table." Like, we need to bring that back around. Um, but yeah, you're invited.
Yeah.
This cookout and empanadas are welcome for sure.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, transitioning away from the empanadas that Chris is gonna have to make for himself. Transitioning away from that, the exact opposite. I think we wanted to touch on too
Mm.
the aspect of
Don't
cancel
don't try to
culture.
cancel me. See how she's trying to cancel my empanadas and then
I
lead on
am.
the
I'm
cancel
canceling that
culture.
order. Yes, it has been canceled. Cancel culture and the impact that that has on our industry, because dentistry is a small industry.
Mhm.
Everybody knows each other in some way, shape, or form, and one small misstep sometimes can actually like take you out of this field. And so I think that it's important that we touch on the exact opposite. While we are fostering a space for inclusion, there are some aspects of the industry that are not as I don't know. I don't know what word
Accepting.
I'm looking. It is not as acceptable, or
Cool.
not the right thing. Like we shouldn't be embracing cancel culture.
Right. We really stepped away from when cancel culture entered the chat, we really stepped away from grace. Like from giving people grace, right? Allowing people the opportunity to fail, falter a little bit, not show up as their best, or have a low moment, right? Before they're canceled. And then now, once you're canceled, like, how do you come back from that? How do you come back from an entire industry or an entire group of people essentially canceling you because you had one moment, one slip up? And this conversation came because we've experienced this in our industry, as speakers, as consultants, as people who have friends who are also speakers, consultants, business owners, and in a variety of different ways in dentistry. Cancel culture has affected people that we know, like, love, and it's not okay. Like we're trying, we got to cancel culture, like that's another part of dental culture bringing the heart and soul back to dentistry. It's actually being about people. Like we somewhere in that, in our journey through growth, you know, we're starting to lose touch with our humanity and understanding that most of us want the same things out of life. We're not really on varying different sides of the field. We're really running the same direction on the same field, and we're just trying to get where we're going. And it would be nice if we had people who would consider us too. Like if one of us fell down as we're all running, wouldn't it be nice if somebody stopped and came back and picked you up? Right.
Yeah.
Instead of you watching everybody just continuously take off and create distance between you. Like we're not about that. We are looking to have people in this space who will stop their race, who will stop the run, and will come back to help you up, because they'll realize we're still going to make it to the end regardless. But guess what? We get to do it together in an inclusive way and not in a selfish way.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones, right? And nobody is without flaws. None of us are without having made mistakes. Some of us probably more regrettable mistakes than others. And I'll be the first one to say that if I was judged by like some of the worst things I've ever done, or if I was held to an impossible standard of perfection, that would be crushing. That would be crushing for my mental health. That would be crushing for my family and the ripple effect that it would have. I mean, we have to do better for the next generation of people who are watching us, who are looking up and saying, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. They do something wrong and they're gone. They're done. That's it.
Right. Then what does that do? That then makes people afraid to be themselves, right? They they're afraid to show you their flaws, which is their humanity, which is in essence a lot of the reason why you would love someone, for their uniqueness, right? But when we allow cancel culture to thrive, or we have these false perceptions of perfection and how that needs to be at the forefront of things, and we don't allow people the opportunity to be themselves, and then we have a deeper issue where that is at the base, right? And then we build up on top of it all these other expectations, and this like, yeah, just expectations. I don't need to, but yeah, you start building all these other expectations on top of that. It becomes a deeper issue that it's hard to get to the root of it, right? So these conversations uncover those things. These spaces are important for us, man. I don't know how many times I've been at an event, and heard someone talking about another person, right? To a whole nother person who wasn't even around when, let's say, the situation, whatever occurred, happened, right? But now you're spreading things, right? And now this is out of their hands. Now
Yep.
it's like fire. Like, you don't know who said what, when, and where they went with it, and how it's being taken, and
Yeah.
all the while you just want to succeed in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
You had no idea that your little moment, right? And that I mean, that rings true for people having moments in the office, right? Like, if we're talking and bringing this into the dental practice, right? You have a moment. Let's say you're the owner. Let's say you're in leadership in the practice, and you have a moment, right? Because you're human. You have something that happens, and you react a certain way, or you I mean, there's so many things I'm sure that comes to mind, because we've all been in dental practices, and we've all seen and been a part of some type of office drama or something, right?
Right.
But whoever's at the precipice of that drama tends to not be given grace, right? But there's a lot to be said in that. There's a lot of accountability that has to be a part of it. There's a lot of,
Yes.
yeah,
I
there's,
was just gonna say that
yeah.
it's
I mean,
twofold. You have to be able to also take ownership and, apologize when you do wrong, or just own where you went wrong.
and unfortunately, sometimes when you don't recognize the need for those things immediately, it turns bad. The situation turns into a termination, turns into some type of reprimand, um, and it's important for us to learn how to navigate these things, for us to get back into this, because I feel like we've been so out of touch with um, how to calibrate culture, right, in the practice, and how to touch all the necessary aspects of what's driving the culture down in your practice. We got some numbers that we're going to start putting out here soon about some of what you should expect from coming to Dental Culture Con, how we're looking to help practices grow and thrive when it comes to their culture, outside of you know the what do you call it, the woo woo of like, let's build your culture, right? Like, but we have
Yep.
no actual numbers. Like, that's something that we do have measurable, how do we say, measurable outcomes that you could expect from attending our event and being here. I want to pull some up. I'm gonna pass to you right quick, Carissa. I'm gonna pull some up so we can just mention a few.
Yeah, because it's important that you have that ROI, return on investment. There's a lot of um, events and a lot of conferences going on now. I mean, I can't even count how many are going on around the same time, especially within the month of September alone. There were 8 different events in 1 week in dentistry. 8 different events 1 week in dentistry. So you want to know that you're going to get an actual impact, and you're going to have some actual outcomes based on that investment. That it's not just you throwing money to a conference so that you can get some required CEs and or so that you can have a write-off or whatever.
Mhm.
Though I will say, where else would you rather be than South Florida in February? Okay, so I'm just going to put that little caveat out there, right by the beach, just saying.
Okay, here we go. We got some numbers for dental practice performance when cultural diversity is the impacting statistic here, right? Okay, so patient satisfaction, 62% average satisfaction is without cultural diversity. Okay, 62% without cultural diversity. We're at 62% average satisfaction from patients in your practice. Now, with cultural diversity, huge 25% increase, 87%.
Wow.
That's 13% away from 100% satisfaction. That's pretty damn good.
Yes. Was that a B plus?
Yep. Definitely familiar with that. B plus. You gotta maintain a B plus average to stay in hygiene school. Okay, patient retention rate. We know, okay, dental practices thrive off retention, right? Like satisfaction is one thing, but retention even better, right? Because that means these are patients that are continuously coming to your practice. That is income, that's care delivered consistently, right? That's what retention is. So without cultural diversity, we're at 58% on average. Annual retention is a general practice, right? Now, with cultural diversity, 83% annual retention. Again, 25% increase. Like, if you don't want a 25% increase is great. And imagine every year you continuously make this better, right?
Yes.
So, come to Dental Culture Con every year.
Exactly. Because you know how much people are spending to get new patients, to acquire new patients. The average statistics, as per some of the leading consulting firms, is that most offices are spending 50 to 60% of their marketing budget to acquiring new patients, and they won't actually be in the profit zone after that new patient has entered the practice. Like the patient has to be now established and return again before they start to see some of that to recur. So even if you acquire them, do you have all the means to maintain them and to keep them as that recurring revenue source? That's the big factor. So not only will we be helping you improve what you have currently, we're going to actually help you to be able to achieve much more through new acquisitions and cultural awareness.
Yes, boom. And then right, like clockwork, you right on point with the next line here. New patient acquisition. Okay. Without cultural diversity, 12 to 15 new patients per month. With cultural diversity, 22 to 28 new patients per month. Now these are average numbers. And on the subject of marketing, because we've both been in marketing for dental practices, when we look at these numbers, these are actual patients coming into practice. We're not talking about your marketing efforts where an ad can generate up to 100 plus leads. We're talking about actual patients coming into practice. That's a 46 to 87% increase.
Yeah. It's
Then we go in.
impactful.
You say it again.
It's impactful. I mean,
100%.
what does that translate to for your numbers, especially if you're a multi-site practice owner?
Right. We got patient trust. These are a couple of other things. I'll let you guys. We're going to put out some content on this, so you guys go visit our website, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and we'll have these things up, and also our LinkedIn. But we got the next categories are patient trust, revenue growth, staff engagement, and health equity impact. For you guys to get those, you're going to have to follow us. We'll do some content where you guys can consume this and actually be able to save it, look at it, and see what the value is for coming to our event. But yeah, these things are important, right? Like we're in healthcare, but we're also in the business of dentistry, right? We're in the business of helping people with their teeth. And so we talk to the personal side of this conversation, the interpersonal conversations, the interpersonal culture, but then also the business culture. The two go hand in hand. Sometimes people find it difficult to understand, how these two exist together. But I think most people who collect a paycheck in dentistry understand that there's a business element to this. And then, the way you feel about your business and what it is that you do is also equally important. So we're having both those conversations at the Dental Culture Con.
I think we've had some really important discussions today around unconscious bias. Hopefully we have just completely knocked that out of the mental sphere of anybody who's coming and thinking that they're not invited to our cookout. You are invited. Just remember what you bring to the table. Okay.
Matter of fact, when you see us out and about, either on social media, at events, in dentistry, don't come and ask us if we're invited. Just come up to us and tell us what you're bringing.
Yes, I love that. Let us know what you're bringing. That's perfect. Perfect. And just know that if you are flawed, we accept you anyway. There's no cancel culture at Dental Culture Con. Okay? That is not the culture that we're talking about. Cancel culture ain't it.
Ain't it.
Ain't it.
Well, yeah, I love this conversation. I can talk about this stuff all day long, but definitely gotta wrap this up, like them plates after the cookout, which y'all taking with you.
Oh boy.
Don't leave it in a cold or in a hot, dark place, dark, wet place. Okay. Come out into the light where it's cool. Preserve. Okay. Yeah, let's wrap this. Our diversity celebration at Dental Culture Con is an inclusive event designed to welcome and honor people from all backgrounds. While we recognize and celebrate the incredible contributions and experiences of the Black community, this event is fundamentally about bringing everyone together, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, ability, or background. We believe wholeheartedly that diversity grows stronger when we create spaces where everyone feels valued, heard, and connected.